Hey, Quants, we're going to do a quick rundown on the markets today and also just do a refresh on the seasonals that I didn't look at towards the end of the year. It is January 12th, so I probably should have done this a little bit earlier, but I just kind of spaced it out. I was aware that we had ended the year negative, and I had been talking about that leading up to the end of the year, and so I just wanted to come back to that quickly here and take a real quick peek and see where we actually landed on the end of the year. So negative 6.33% is where we ended for the year. That's kind of, ugly compared to what a lot of people were expecting. I know most people, including myself, were really expecting kind of a nice end to the year. Now, to be fair, that doesn't mean that I would have necessarily expected the year to end on a very high. However, I was expecting, October, November, and potentially December to be green months, which they did not end up being. And so that was just in terms of the 4-year cycle. That was kind of ugly. If you go back, you'll see some people kind of calling it a typical 4-year cycle with shortening cycles, with the end of the cycle kind of coming closer or deeper into the year, and so ending in October as our high. Some people were, kind of calling it as that being a typical 4-year cycle, which I've reviewed the information that they put out, and I don't really disagree with what they were saying. I mean, yeah, you could. It's an argument, right? And so, at the end of the day, it wasn't the euphoria that everybody was kind of expecting, right? It was just kind of a meh end of the 4-year cycle. As far as that goes. So I think it's still yet to be seen if the 4-year cycle is going to continue playing out. If it does continue to play out, I would tend towards Bob Lucas's analysis, which is that we would have a left translated cycle this go round, which means we should see a newer, either something close to the all-time high or an all-time high earlier in the 4-year cycle rather than later. And so I did some drawings on the chart in the past, and I'll probably come back to that. I mean, in the context of 4 years, that's looking too far ahead, I think. So, however, it would call for an expectation of a kind of a top to this 4-year cycle in the first half or the first 2 years as opposed to the latter 2 years. So, with that said, let's go ahead and just take a quick peek at the price and back to the chart. I was expecting to see an X there. Sometimes the UI in TradingView just is kind of weird. So I think we saw this close above this bottoming pattern here, and we were kind of expecting a potential for this to base out and then go higher. I'm still expecting a touch to the 200s. Now, this is looking more and more likely the 200s is just going to come and touch the price as opposed to the price going up to the 200s. So that kind of sucks in terms of like just expecting or wanting to get price to go up so you can make money on price going up. But at the end of the day, it would still get the touch. And then at that point, we would either wait, we'd be waiting to see if it's going to break out or break down from there. In this channel, we are on the top half of this channel, so I didn't really do like a fib or something like that. But just kind of, I have a 50% fib here. If I draw this, that's not the one I want. If I do something here and then just pull it down here. So we've got the 50% level at 88,000, right? 88.9. So staying above there, we're kind of in the stronger half of this channel. That doesn't mean we're guaranteed to go up or down at this point, but at least we're in the strong half of this channel. And so with that said, still the potential for trending up. In the context of the master strategy, we still only have the 821 cross, so that's kind of been holding. Oftentimes, if you play these, if you miss that initial cross, or if you get the initial cross and you want to add to your position, in the sense that the price is kind of confirmed going in that direction, then a touch of the 8 or 21 can be good opportunities to add to the position with exits with a little bit below those, so that you're not giving up a lot of your capital after you just added it, right? And so those are some things that you could play with. As far as that goes, right now, not really doing much, just kind of waiting. It is, I said it was the 12th earlier, so I think the 15th is when everyone's expecting some kind of news to come out about this, the market structure bill with the bill. I don't even if I didn't say that right. So well, it's going to be the bill that kind of like catalyzes the legalization of crypto and that moving forward. So if that happens, I think there's a potential for upside price. But as they say, sell the news. So it also might just be another opportunity for people to kind of empty their, to get some individuals in the market and get some liquidity back out of the market. So we'll see how that how that plays out in the future. On to some things that are a little bit more exciting is, gosh, I gotta switch over here. Let's take a look at silver. I saw silver gapped up today. So yeah, boom. Silver is still just crushing it, right? So I would say one thing here, again, I've been talking about protecting your capital as price moves up. One thing that we did see here that's kind of a nice gimme is I was using, kind of calling out just an area here which didn't actually cause the 2-bar swing to trend down. But in this case, now we do have a 2-bar swing that came down here and then is now going back up. And so you might want to consider moving your positions up closer here so that, again, you're just kind of moving that stop up with price. As things continue to go more parabolic, you might want to track it even closer, because holy cow, price has been just smoking it lately. So that's and this is, I mean, I just don't, you can't really make this too much more straighter without this thing just exploding on the weekly time frame, right? Or bending back on itself. And what I mean by that is, like, look at this, we're going to make a pregnant baby here. I mean, oh my gosh, right? So, and that's counting those last 2 touches. So this thing is obviously just going bonkers. But make money while the money's there to be made, I guess. And so if you start trailing, considering there's a pretty large gap here, if we just keep screaming up here, it might be wise to follow one of other Gann's rules, which was to just kind of like trail, I believe it was to trail the previous daily candle. And so that, with these gaps coming in here like they are, and price on the weekly time frame just looking the way that they are, oscillators are actually, this kind of came down a bit, so there's some juice in to be squeezed out there, I think. And the MACD can just keep going up, but that thing is like way up there. And so when this comes down, it's probably going to come down pretty hard. And so yeah, depending if this thing keeps going, you might want to start trailing that even closer. But I will say, if you're looking close to 6,900 or $69 giggity, or $70 there, that's not a bad place to put your stop. You're giving up $10 point there. So, if you want to be a little bit more conservative, you could start trailing these candles up here. Even if you're looking at the 8 EMA here, I mean, you could put it at the 8 EMA. I don't know that would be a good place in the context of this particular strategy to get out, because generally that would be where you'd want to buy. But if you just want something that is a data point that you could just say, hey, this is where I'm calling it, and you don't want to give up too much price because price has already gone crazy, that's an area where you could put it, of course. And then, yeah, it looks like the 21 is not too much farther from where this swing low was. So let's go ahead and take a look at gold real quick too, because gold hadn't been moving too much. We kind of got that dump there, but now, man, even gold, all-time highs, just blasting through here. So this is cool. Same idea. This thing, let me reset the chart view, is getting pretty parabolic. I don't think it looks quite as crazy as silver, but I mean, it is crazy in terms of the overall price there. And so one thing I will say, just because I'm looking at this chart right now, is that Mexican peak pattern, like I kind of mentioned, is really just your rising wedge, or your, not rising wedge, but an ascending triangle here. And so this is an example of where I was using that. And to be fair, I had a position previously to that, but just in terms of continuing to practice the concepts here, I had drawn this on here just to see if it was going to break out, which it did. And once it broke out, it did not stop for a little while, right? It kept going. I mean, it broke out it broke out here. We're looking at, you got the close above here. Again, just like we saw with Bitcoin, just because it closes up doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but that's potentially where you want to take your trade. And then if it drops back in here, you just give it up, right? And so it did break up about 3,400 and then kind of kept going. Eventually got that pullback to 3,800, but I mean, that wouldn't have been a bad trade even if that was all you got, right? So, and that's getting out at the bottom where this turned around here. So that is all looking pretty crazy. So I'm not going to look at all the other stocks or anything like that. Maybe that's something I'll do again. I know one time in the past I just kind of went through, let's just go through a bunch of stocks, say good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Maybe we'll do that again, but I'm not going to do that right now. Just wanted to take a quick look at these ones that are getting crazy since Bitcoin's been kind of boring, but hopefully we will see something happen here in Bitcoin. And I'm not looking at the right chart, which is why I don't have the drawing on there. So yeah, maybe we'll see something happen in Bitcoin here since it is in the strong half. Maybe we can get that close above. I did mention in the past, since I did kind of show that triangle, like this doesn't look like a great example of an ascending triangle to me. It looks more like a, kind of a channel here. However, I did mention if you drew a line to, I mean, it's only 2 points here, but you could say that this is an ascending triangle and you'd get 1, 2, 3, boom, get that fourth touch. And Gann does talk about that, getting those multiple touches and then getting a break above, and then that's kind of where you get in. So if we do break out here, considering how low this has come, I do expect some resistance here. Let's just zoom out a little bit. So we're getting there. You can see here there's some resistance, right? And if I put on that VRBVP, which I don't use heavily, yeah, it doesn't even really look like you have that resistance. Maybe if I zoom in a little bit more, yeah, you can't really see a ton of volume at these levels here. So can't say much in terms of volume at these levels, but you can just look at it and see that there was some support here as this was playing out. So I would expect this, which is a little bit above the 200 SMA or 200 EMA, to be some resistance. Also the fact that it's just psychologically the round 100,000 number, and I'm sure once we get over 100,000, everybody and their grandma's going to be back on bull mode for crypto because we're back over 100,000. That would be great. I would be in favor of that, but I would also be very cautious with that happening as well. So this would be, I think, a pretty clean shot if we get this breakout here. I think that getting up here around 100,000, 101,000, just a little bit above here, even if it's just a wick, is going to be a pretty clean shot for Bitcoin. And then after that, we'll have to see if we do get above to up to these the 200 SMA. If we get above the 200 SMA and it bounces out a little bit and then starts moving up, then I would probably be on the side of back on bull mode. But that would also be front running the slope changing for those 200s, because, and I'm just speculating because I expect if it did go that fast, the 200s are not going to curve around yet, so you'd be front running those. But is the point of using the 821 moving at EMAs there, is so that you can get in before you see that happen. Obviously, since we're on the underside, you would just be expecting to play a counter trend rally, and so maybe get out at the 200s. And then if it bounces out there, get back in. So that's one way to play it without, again, giving up too much profit. Because that's something I mentioned before. I've got that book on the back of my shelf. If you zoom into my picture here, you'll probably see it back there. It's Sell and Sell Short. Something I try to practice myself is working on selling, because I know it's not something that I'm great at. I do pretty well at getting into positions. I do pretty bad at getting out of positions. And so that's something I just try to be very cautious of. So that's something I'll probably talk about quite a bit as my own journey evolves on this channel. Y'all can be along for that ride, and hopefully that'll be helpful to you guys as well. So that's going to be it for today. The last tidbit I'll say is, like, I've been running on Linux for a while now. I put out some game the other day and the video was jacked up because I didn't notice that, because I switched from Linux back to Windows because I couldn't get the game to play on Linux. I say I couldn't get it to play. It was playing fine, and then after a couple of days, I came back to it. I just tested it to see if it worked, which it did, and then I came back to it. I was like, oh, I'm going to do my video on Linux, and we'll be a full on Linux, and I don't have to go back to Windows. And so, I do know some people have mentioned that in their production cycle of making videos and content, they end up having to go back to Linux, or excuse me, they have to go back to Windows to make things work. And so I ultimately just went back to Windows because I had some work I wanted to get done that day, and I didn't want to spend all day just trying to figure out how to make that work. But I will continue on this journey of doing things on Linux. The lighting here, did it zoom in? I think it zoomed in. Right, it looks like it zoomed in on my face. So the Logitech camera that I have, it's got the software is not running on the Linux environment, so I didn't think some of the AI features were going to work, but maybe that did work. I'm going to go back and take a look at the video here. Anyways, all that said, there's a lot of production stuff that I'm working on just for these videos while I'm moving over to Linux. And I do like from a development standpoint, it's just a much better environment. I enjoy it a lot better or a lot more. But I am working through some of the challenges that people had mentioned you will have if you're trying to record videos and produce content on Linux. And so I will just briefly mention I'm using Pop OS. And so for anybody that's interested in trying to utilize a Linux distribution because they don't want to stay on Windows or they want to try something else, Pop OS is a pretty nice one because they do a pretty good job of producing or including the NVIDIA drivers. So if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, which I know a lot of people use those, they tend to be pretty popular. It's a pretty decent distro for that. If you use the AMD graphics cards, those tend to be more open source, and so those tend to come out to Linux distros more quickly. But what I also wanted to mention with the Pop OS distro is that I'm using the Cosmic Desktop, which has a really nice way of integrating tiling. And so this is for people that maybe are more interested in development type of stuff or just the organization of their windows, because they have, in my case, I have a really nice large display. And so I don't really have these floating windows all over each other. And so you can still do some of that stuff in Windows, but it's not quite as nice as it is with Pop OS. But there's some learning there and trade-offs and all that kind of stuff. So still working through that, but really enjoying it. And it's keeping me interested in a lot of the building stuff since I code all the time. It's keeping me interested in just learning some of that stuff. And so just throwing it out there for anybody that might be interested in that idea and like seeing that, hey, it actually is possible. You can do it because I'm doing it. Hopefully this system will get more refined, and then the production quality and all that will just continue to get better as I learn some of the nuances of getting these things working on the Linux environment. So again, going to stop it for there. For those that stuck around, appreciate you. And I hope you found some value in that information. And if you want to talk about it, just drop a comment down below and we can chat about that stuff because I enjoy doing that stuff. So I will catch up with y'all later. Peace, quants.